battery starts early. It works hard. It stays focused. It keeps moving. It stands ready. And it carries the weight. Strong coffee for a strong nation.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Beyond the Possible. I was trying to do some extra stuff tonight, but it didn't work out, but that's all right. Hope y'all are all doing well. I think we're going to have another fun show. Nice. Nostradamus, you got to finish the belong and he'll be back. All right. Sounds good. But I appreciate y'all being here for another one. For number 26. So, oops. I did do one thing. Let's see. Let's fix this. If this is the worst happens the whole night, I'll be all right. Forgot to fix the background. That's the wrong background. We're not talking with conspiracy tonight.
Not quite tonight. Wrong night of the week.
Yep. A couple more days. Shadow decides she wants to make sure everybody knows she's here.
Hello, Shadow.
You doing all right tonight, Jake?
Yeah, glad to be here. And Sunday nights are my favorite now at this point because I get to do this show and then head over to Troubled Minds Radio and be there for that. So always happy when Sunday night comes. Funny because for years I used to think all the weekends, for me, big deal. I can't go anywhere on my own all week anyway. So what is the big deal about weekends? But now I kind of like them more.
Nice. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's good to look forward to something, and we're having fun and oh, okay, what was that? That's just on the Facebook. It popped up. We're live in all your favorite places. I tried to get live on TikTok, but it did not want to. It was bad at me. So, oops, I forgot to do. I did forget one though.
Yeah.
There it goes.
I use Facebook, but not for a lot. Um, Although it was funny, I had a little synchronicity today, in a way, uh, involving that. I don't always pay attention to it, but how they have that memories thing on Facebook. Uh, there was the one that they chose for today was it was a flyer for like a book signing release event that I had years ago uh, for one of my nonfiction books, and this just happened to be the same day where I was putting together just the words, and I haven't made the whole thing yet, but just the words for the flyer that I'm going to have set out at the library where I'm going to have my paranormal discussion group meeting at. Like, I just decided that last night. Today I was going to do that and open Facebook today, and there's that memory of this earlier flyer from years ago. So it's kind of funny.
That's cool.
That's
Yeah,
also the
Facebook
flyer that.
does do that good things like that, and
Yeah. That's also the flyer that mysteriously vanished from the UPS store when I had to make copies of it.
oh wow,
And I ordered it like on a Friday, and when I got there Monday to pick it up, they could not find it. And it's just a tiny little UPS store in a small town, like 3 employees that were in that store at all for that whole weekend, and they knew they had seen it, and they could not find it, and they didn't even know it was for like a paranormal themed event either, which is hilarious. And so I was just standing at the door while they were trying to find the things, and then they just ended up printing off a whole new batch for me. And I was just standing there kind of laughing because it was like, of course, the flyers for a paranormal event would just vanish.
of course.
So, but they didn't charge me for the extra batch of flyers. So that was nice.
That's cool. Yeah, man. Because I mean, mm, maybe you don't want to do that today. All right, we're not live on there either today. Oh well. Let me double check some stuff here.
Hmm. Good thing there's a podcast feed. There's nothing else.
Yeah, they can sure technology. It
Oh yeah,
shows. Yep. All right, so we are live on Rumble. That's all I'm worried about. Live on
there you go.
YouTube, live on Rumble. The rest can be. It is what it is. Uh, so let's say we appreciate y'all being here. As always, you never know where the conversation will go, and we'll talk about. I wanted to talk about residual energy, and um, and then who knows where else we're going to take it. But shadow, shadow, come on.
Yeah, I heard something the other day in an audiobook I was listening to, and I checked into it. Like I went online and did some searching, uh, and so I was actually joking with Ricky when I told him about this because I said I used one of his taglines for his videos. Did you know that apparently before modern insulation was created for homes, people used to put their old and worn out clothes in the walls instead. They used their clothes as insulation. And that just blew my mind because, again, uh, there we all have, I'm sure we all have our favorite types of clothing or favorite shirts or whatever pieces of clothing that we like to wear as much as we can. And
Hmm.
imagine, okay, well, this thing is now too worn out, and but way back when, well, then I'll just use it. I'll put it in the wall, and just thinking about all the energy that may be attached to that clothing, and if you're doing that with multiple pieces of clothing, if you're insulating multiple walls in your home, that's a lot of energy from you, from people that live in the home with you, sort of stored up in those clothes that could possibly then later on, maybe with a few other factors that we don't know about yet, be released, show itself as sort of images or sounds, sort of like a residual haunting kind of situation. Or in rare cases, I have heard of in people buying clothes in like thrift stores. I can never say that word right, but resale shops, whatever you want to call them, and they get clothes, they get coats or jackets, and all of a sudden their house is haunted, and they're able to trace it back to it all starting when they bought whatever they bought from that store and brought it to their home.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Interesting, this that live. Keep driving me crazy. Uh, just that live, that energy is, like you said, attached because that's when it's like our favorite item or favorite thing. We've heard and know of like regular items, household items and stuff. You go to thrift stores and find pieces.
Hmm.
Why not clothing too? That would that'd be wild. You do a renovation of a house and all of a sudden you pull out. You could you start messing with the clothes and the activity goes. You start pulling out. Well, let me put real insulation in here, and all of a sudden activity goes up through the roof.
Yeah, yeah. I'd heard of people putting shoes on walls for like a protective kind of thing, but and other objects, but I hadn't heard of. But those are more like a symbolic kind of, uh, still paranormal related, spiritual defense kind of thing. But I hadn't heard of clothes being used as in that way. It just really blew my mind when I read that.
Yeah, it's interesting, to think about. Especially like I said, I mean, back in the day, they were just trying to stay warm, or especially during winter time. I imagine they might want to drafty during the during the summer, get any kind of breeze they could. But of course, the houses are built a little different, and they were made to pull the air and stuff like that. It was neat. Like my old apartment I had in Memphis. It had really tall ceilings, and then it had right above the door. It had a little window opening thing you pop up, and on each side of the hallway had doors, so you could actually open up the doors on the ends, and the draft would pull the hot air out of the rooms. It's pretty, kind pretty ingenious.
It is, and I always used to like. For years, I thought, well, that's kind of weird. Why would you have a window above your door? In any kind of building. Like what? Because I don't know anything about architecture or like building and how you're supposed to. I know nothing about all that. So I figured there had to be a reason, but it wasn't until some years ago where I heard about that and how all that was made to for this natural, uh, especially before they had technology, central air and all that. This natural airflow uh, system in your home, whether it's houses or apartment buildings, either way, it's still amazing.
Hmm. Yeah, not because especially like down here, people would have
Yeah,
died. You know, um, just the heat and humidity in the south and stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty. Of course, they know. They had glued them and nailed them shut, and um, where you couldn't use them and stuff like that. But it's
right.
still pretty. It's neat how they had each floor set up so it could actually pull that hot air out. And no, no stops. What about Victoria's Secret possessed underwear? Uh, Anything is possible, Nostradamus. Anything is possible.
I was thinking about personal effects, but not quite that personal. But I get what you mean.
I guess, I mean, if it was their favorite, and I don't know.
But even thinking of, I'm imagining the way clothes were made also back 100, 200 years ago. It's not like what they have now either. Like clothes were made to last longer, um, and but then if they were still too worn out to use, well, they would probably still last in one way or another for a lot longer, even after you stopped using them, and probably work well as insulation. Especially, I'm thinking of like in more north, like in my area of the U.S., like in the northern parts of the U.S. I'm sure that would be very very useful.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you look at, because a lot of the clothes was, like wool and stuff like that, um, hemp, you know,
Right.
and like it was made to last.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many residual hauntings are one
Oh
of the
wow.
most common types of reported hauntings. That's out there. Uh, there's a lot of people that think that most paranormal activity is residual in one way or another, and you can't really argue with that. I don't know, but it's definitely possible.
Hmm. Yeah, I see a watchman says seen a solid white male in color wearing dress pants and a trench coat walk through the closed closet door. Make sure that's said in a friend's home back in 2017. It was a full color apparition. Even the dogs barked at it. That's pretty wild.
Wow. Huh. And now I'm thinking clothes, closets. So many people keep all their clothes in closets. that could be a possible explanation for a lot of paranormal activity surrounding closets as well.
Hmm. And then, like I said, on that residual energy, it's just like, hey, he's used to walking through there, or I wonder. Then you look at I mean, the possibilities. You know, you just have to know the house and the situation and all that stuff. You know, but there was, you know, especially for it was residual because it's like, okay, is that this closet's always been here?
Right.
It could, they could have closed off a little area and made a closet. And it used to have a doorway right here, and that would absolutely um, explain a residual like person walking through there because there was no closet when they were alive. So they was walking through here and pop, 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 and going where
Yeah,
they
I mean,
normally go.
if you think of huge mansions that were made way back when, so often they end up either getting abandoned or they get turned into apartment buildings. They get split up into apartments and they do construction on them in some cases. And so I can imagine some closets literally not having existed before.
Hmm.
Uh, maybe they were hallways or parts of rooms or whatever, and now they're closets. Well, if it's a residual and it just happens to go that way all the time, um, that could explain that apparition for sure.
Yeah, for absolutely. Um, because a lot, like you said, a lot of times they come in. A lot of times they come in, and they gut everything and redo.
Yeah,
Especially when they're doing that, they making apartments. They just gut everything and they take it down to the frame and they rebuild everything. So absolutely, it could have totally looked completely different back when it originally was a home. So if you see things walking through walls and stuff like that, it could a very good explanation for it. I think.
yeah.
It's especially if it's residual. If it's intelligent, it's something else. But with residual, it's just walking that path it's walked forever. That was the path it walked, and
Right.
it don't matter if you rip the walls out or put a wall there or whatever. It didn't matter. That's the path it's walked forever.
Well, and you hear that with places where they raise or lower the floors. You know, you hear about apparitions that they're walking and it seems like they're walking on nothing in a room.
Hmm.
Or the opposite. You'll hear accounts of people that say, I saw this apparition, and all I could see was like the top half of them moving through this room near the floor level. Well, if it's residual, the legs could still be there, legs and feet, but because the floor is at a different level, you're not going to see that.
Hmm.
So, and I do think there can be places where there can be residual energy along with sentient conscious being, whether it's a person or otherwise, in the same space. And sometimes you might even see the sentient, the spirit of someone, let's say the past, and their residual energy at different points and times in the same space. And it doesn't mean that both can exist at the same time. It just means that the residual is doing one thing, and then you have the intelligence doing other things as well.
Hmm. Matt said that's all the houses in San Francisco. They were turned into apartments to fit more people,
Mm,
especially the big ones and stuff. And trained over, and a watchman said he or it made no noise, and the dogs
right.
barking made me look over there to see him for a couple seconds. I watched it walk through a closed pantry closet door and looked like he was in his 70s.
Mm.
So makes me wonder, if that's the old man of the house or if he can go Be cool to go back and look and see if you can find, the original owner or something like that. And they look just like, be a fun research.
Yeah, definitely. That's kind of something I would like to do. I'm gonna need help, and that's part of why I want to start this like research discussion group. Is look into the history of this area that I'm in, and see what's all been here before, and because if I can get some verification on uh, this, some of the experiences I had in this apartment when I first moved here, uh, that'd be amazing. I can't remember if I told the story about before about the young girl, that's like the pre-teenage girl that haunted this place for a little while, that was trying to get like her story across.
I
I don't
think so.
remember.
Go ahead. You tell it again. That was for the ones that hadn't heard it.
Yeah, so I've had experiences with paranormal things since I was like in my teens myself. But I moved in this apartment about 20 years ago now, which is really wild to think about. Talk about residual energy. My gosh, when eventually I leave here, it's gonna be Logan and I just appearing all over the place. But my cat, that's my cat for anyone who doesn't know. But when I first moved in here, uh, I had a couch. It was a love seat, but it was like a couch bed, and I would use it sometimes. I'd pull it out and sleep out here in the living room, which is ironic because that's what I do now with the regular bed. But and I just put on TV or a DVD or something. This was back in early 2000s when there was DVDs were a lot more common. Uh, and I happened to get home from running errands one day, and I had back then I was there's a bolt lock on my door, which is hilarious because right next to that door is a full height window. So like if anyone really wanted to be just crazy, they could break the glass and reach around and grab that doorknob and open it right up. But
Hmm.
I wasn't thinking of that then, so I would double lock the door. I would use that bolt lock too. And one day I laid down and put on a DVD, fell asleep. At one point, as I was laying there, I felt someone sit on the side of the couch bed and lean against my leg. My it was my let's see here. Just trying to think here. I think it was my right leg. Anyway, uh, and I started to wake up because, of course, I live alone. This was even before I had Logan, and I muttered something like, "Who's there?" And I heard this young girl's voice laugh, and it wasn't a creepy laugh or evil laugh. It was just a regular laugh. And she said, "How can there be anyone here when you double locked the door?" And of course, I had just done that before I laid down. So of course, I started to wake up right away, and I sat up and opened my eyes. And as I was sitting up and opening my eyes, that pressure on the bed and on my leg lifted, but there was no sound of anyone running away. There was no one there visually, and also no sounds of anyone leaving the apartment. This apartment is it's small enough where you can get from one door to the other in like a minute or two at the most. So I would have heard someone going to the door and running out. And but it was weird because it was startling, but it wasn't really scary. I didn't feel anything negative from this presence, and I heard her voice a couple other times after that. Whenever I'd come home from again being out uh, in the middle of the day, because I had to schedule rides and everything because I'm legally blind. I'd come back home and I'd open the door and I would hear this young girl talking and or laughing, and then it would just instantly fade away. And I had so from there everything went to dreams, these sort of dream communications. And I had this dream one night when I was asleep in the bedroom, in my bed, of hearing someone in the living room. And when I went to bed, I turned the lights off in my apartment because I like everything dark when I sleep. But in this dream experience, and it didn't feel like a regular dream, but I heard someone moving furniture around in the living room, and it was a man, and he was saying, "Where are you? I can't find you. Where did you go?" And first I was freaked out because I was thinking, okay, someone broke into my apartment. But as I was laying there, I started getting tired, and everything started to fade, and I realized, oh, okay, I'm dreaming. So I thought that was odd. Some days later, I had this dream of sitting in my bedroom closet, the larger one. There's two, the small one and larger one. But there was nothing on the floor in the closet at the time in the dream, even though it was full in real life. And I was sitting next to this smaller figure in a nightgown, and it was this girl. And I turned to look at her as she turned to look at me, and I could tell it was a young, like I said, preteen, early teen, at the oldest girl. And she looked at me, and it wasn't scary, but it was startling because I could see that she was starting to decompose. It was like she was trying to tell me she had passed on. And of course, I was startled, so I woke up right away. And so I had that happen, and I just started getting this feeling like there's someone here, this girl, trying to tell me what was going on with her. Basically, her story of um, how she passed is what I figured out later. Because I had one more dream that was relevant, and so back then I used to have my younger sister would come over and visit once a week in the summertime while she was off of school when she was a kid, and her dad would drop her off here at around like 5:30 in the morning on his way to work. So a lot of times we would both go back to sleep for an hour or two after, and I would let her use my bedroom because it was a more comfortable bed, and I would sleep out here on the couch bed. And this one morning when she got here, uh, after she went to sleep for a while and I went to sleep, had this dream, but it felt like more than a dream. I was here in my living room and I was moving furniture around, and I said out loud in the dream, "Where are you? I can't find you. Where did you go?" And it was an odd experience because it felt like it was me, but not me. And I was looking for my sister, but not my sister. That's the best way I can describe it. And I looked around the rest of the apartment except for the bedroom. For some reason, I didn't go in there, which doesn't make sense because waking real life me, I knew where my sister was. She was in the bedroom, and but I didn't go in there. And the place also, the apartment building, appeared to have been on fire. It was on fire, and things were burning. And so that's how I was trying to find my sister, but not my sister. And I left the apartment building, went outside, and I could hear people off in the distance screaming. And eventually everything faded, and I started to wake up. But as I started to wake up, I saw this girl in this nightgown walking past the side of my couch bed. And I wanted to get up and try to communicate with her. But also I was worried that anything that I did or this apparition did might make noise that would wake up my sister and frighten her, because she's never had any experiences, and she was still a kid then. She would have been about 10, 11 years old at the time, and so I just had to watch as I laid there this girl in this nightgown. All I could really see was the nightgown because I was laying down. Walked past me, and of course, eventually she was out of sight. And then, not long after she was out of sight, I started hearing my sister waking up and moving around. And but that's when I kind of put the pieces together and got the feeling that wherever this took place, because I don't feel like it took place here in these apartments, because there wasn't a fire here in these apartments as far as I'd ever heard or from anyone in the area. Um, I started to feel like this girl was trying to tell her story of how she passed away, and either by choice or because of the fire, she ended up in a closet-like space, and of course the fire overtook that space and her, sadly. Uh, and I just felt like that's why she was what she was trying to do. I had one more dream, a few days, I don't know, sometime after that, where I heard her whispering, saying something like I was buried by the church. I There was one day, middle of the day, I was thinking about doing research into what possibly could have happened and see if I could actually place uh, the story in this area of having happened. But I found that a lot of the few places that were in this area to do research, they had very limited hours, and of course, I also realized any kind of documents they had would not be easily accessible for someone with low vision. Um, and but so I was thinking though, it would help if I had a name, and I decided to try something I'd heard about on TV, various paranormal TV and TV shows and podcasts. This idea that spirits can, uh, basically, they can pick up on your thoughts if you send them, if you basically try to communicate telepathically, so to speak. And I just one afternoon I was thinking it would really help uh, any kind of research if I had a name to go with. And I heard this, so I put this out there just all around me. I'd like to help. I'd like to research this, but I could use a name to make it go easier. And I got this voice. And it was her voice in my head, uh, and it started off. It was like it was weird. It was almost like a stuttering or some kind of a weird transmission where it was like the first sound like M and then ma and then ma and then just did that until it got to the first name of Maggie. And I got a last name, but I don't really want to share because it's a name in my area that is fairly well known. Partly because it's a street. This last name that she gave me, there's a street right in town, not far from me, that has that last name. And after all this, I never sensed her here again. It was literally like she was just looking for someone that was, I don't know if sensitive enough is the word or what, but receptive enough to tell them what happened. And once she did that, that was all she needed. That was all she wanted. And all the activity with her anyway stopped. So anyway, there's my try to make it as brief as I could, but it's a long story. So there you go.
Did you look over her name and see if you could find anything on her, or?
No, because like I said, there was limited um, hours and technology and all that in the couple of places that in the area that would have had records for all that.
Yeah.
So and I felt like too like once you got that story out to me, I didn't really need to. Like if I can eventually, with help from people, get more information on this, then that's great. But I felt like the main point from her end was just to tell somebody.
Hmm. Yeah, you hear that story, you hear that thought of, that it won't be forgotten, that's like the big fear, I don't want to be forgotten. So that's why they reach out to people and try to, and do that kind of thing and reach out, get their story told. Or so pretty amazing though, James.
Yeah, it was really the first major sequence of events that had happened here that were, paranormal in a sense. And I've had other things happen here, but I don't feel like anything else was really her. And it's just random things that happen here. So,
Hmm.
if anyone, if you're really curious about more of my experiences, I have been doing a series of shows on my own podcast, revisiting my experiences, where I've been basically recounting everything I can remember, I can think of. And my co host, Jen, the Arcane Observer, and I have been going over all that, and she's been giving her thoughts, and it's been a lot of fun. So, if you check out Salsido Paranormal.com, that's SALSIDO paranormal.com. If you look for the episodes with the revisiting my experiences uh, title in there, those will be the ones where I go over basically everything. And I think we're almost done with that series. Maybe like one or maybe two more episodes of those.
That's cool. Yeah, Jen's in chat now. She's here.
Hello, Jen. Nice to have you here. And we recorded the show last night, not in that series, but based on some of her ideas that will be coming out the next Saturday. So
Nice, nice. Yeah, we got Skunk Hollow here, and a watchman asked, "What do you think about being scratched by a demon?" Said it happened to me in '08, '09. Three scratches on my right arm while showering. It remained. It was swollen for a half a day.
it's the scratching thing is it is sort of divisive and or not divisive, but the logical sort of or the common idea or thought is that it is demonic or negative. But I've heard some people on different podcasts and shows talk about how it may be that there's whoever is there is literally just trying so hard to get your attention, and it's not working. It's not working, and they're not. There's no contact being made at first, and they try so hard that eventually it goes wrong, and you get a scratch. Not saying that the negative stuff doesn't exist,
Hmm.
just saying that I would say in that case, unless there's a lot of other things that happened in that environment that also seem negative, I would be, or unless you felt like whatever happened wasn't like if you felt negative presence or whatever. If you didn't feel that, then I would say it's possible it wasn't a demon, so to speak. Uh, I don't like telling anyone that they didn't experience what they thought they experienced. Just possibilities as to alternate ways to look at things.
No, absolutely. I mean, I know, like you said, a lot of people will throw the scratches to straight to demons, but and I think that's a lot of the ghost shows and ghost adventures. Zach Baggins yell on it, demon portals, and here I am, attack me,
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden he got scratches down his back or whatever, and claw marks, and um, yeah, it very well could be a possibility. That's like trying so hard um, to get their attention. It's kind of like the movie Ghost, and where Patrick Swayze's trying to do stuff, where he can't, and the other ghost was trying to help him, not really willingly, but he was trying to help him to understand like how do you move stuff and use his energy to interact with the real world or the living world, I guess you say,
right.
and so that is a good be a good possibility is that they were just trying so hard that got a little aggressive. I'm curious on that. Like, had any other situations happen, or just a one and done?
Right.
If it was just a one and done, it could very well be that it was just somebody who was trying to get attention and say, "Hey, I'm here." So
Yeah.
I guess
Not
it's a
that it's fun either way,
freaky
but
ghost. Up in the shower with him. Get out of the shower with me.
yeah, yeah, and not that it's fun either way, but just the idea that it might not automatically have bad intentions.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, Carl, it was a good story.
Yeah, and I'll never. I don't think. I mean, I don't think I'll ever forget it because it was. I had experiences before, but they were always very much random things here and there. Um, Never had before or since anything like that kind of a sequence of events. And I mean, she got her. She I think mission accomplished because I mean now every so often I still tell that story on shows and
Mhm.
things. So there we go.
And it's out on the internet, so it's always gonna be out there.
Yep.
Unless something happens and everything gets fried. But I mean, likelihood of that,
Yeah.
at some place and somewhere, there'll be that story to be told. And it's pretty neat to, and that's a lot of people, think about that, their mortality and stuff, and you think about it, who's going to remember me, who's going to know, once
Yeah.
you jump a couple of generations and stuff like that, it's a lot of people don't, if they never get to meet him or he just heard stories, and then once that generation passes, especially for a generation that's just heard stories, and then once that generation they heard the story from passes, they're not really telling it no more, and it just the memory gets lighter and lighter kind of thing, unless something unless they're way out in the media or something like that. Now, like, especially with celebrities and stuff like that. But if you're just an average person, you know skip a few generations, and who's really thinking.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I my grandma used to tell me about experiences that she and my grandpa had, and other family members had in this one house where her sister used to live. And this is like a good 20, 25 years ago. She told me about this. Um, and so, podcast. What podcast? You know, so I didn't think about trying to take any of those stories down, record them or write them down because I just didn't think about it.
Hmm.
And obviously you can't blame yourself because you didn't know. But now all I have are these fragments of some of these stories from her that I barely remember very well now. And eventually I'm gonna pass someday, whenever that happens, and they'll be out there again. A few of them will be out there on the internet, but that's about it.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a kind of solemn, I guess, look on things. That's why you gotta live for today. Enjoy your moments, and do what makes you happy, and the best you can.
Yeah,
Just here for a moment.
I think one of my favorites of those there was the one where the family car, someone invisible took it for a joyride around the neighborhood. Uh, that always sticks out in my mind. There's like two that really stick out in my mind because of just how wild they are in a way, and that's one of them. The family woke up one morning and their car was not in their driveway, and they were looking all around for it, and they couldn't figure out who stole it. No keys in the car like that, and they got a call later on that morning from a neighbor on another street that said, "Hey, your car just pulled up to the street in front of our house, and it just stopped, and there's no one in the car." And so, they wouldn't get their car back, but they have no idea how or who or whatever happened to where it was literally driving around the area without a driver, visible
Wow.
driver anyway.
Yeah, I wonder. Makes you wonder. One last ride, I guess. Maybe.
And this is like in the, I don't know, 50s, early 60s at the latest. This is not in the era of like computers that can drive vehicles around now,
Yeah.
you know, very easily.
No, no, it's a different time now. Now it's like, that's no big deal. But yeah, if you the 1950s, well, they did make a movie about it, James. It had Christine,
Sure.
in the Chrysler on the Plymouth. I mean,
But even that was what, 70s later on?
yeah,
60s, 70s?
and
So,
she was possessed.
yeah. But the other favorite of those stories, real quick, is the neighbor kids one day came over and knocked on the door. And this is when there was no kids around at the house at the time in my family member's house. And they came and knocked on the door and they said, "Can we play with the kids upstairs?" And that's when I don't know, it'd be my great aunt. Anyway, she had to tell them there's no kids upstairs. But apparently they were seeing kids and talking with them through the windows in the upper floors of the houses and waving at them and stuff and talking through the windows and everything at them. So there's some kids up there, but not physical ones.
For sure. Something's up there.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep. Something could be up there. Yes. One of them things that could be, and we just don't know. It's because there's so many possibilities. Like we say all the time, it's the E out above. It could be, it could be energy for little kids and stuff like that, or it could be tricksters, trickster spirits. Messing around, messing with people, and or jinn or stuff like that, just harassing, harassing people.
or it could have been living kids from another time period.
Yeah, that multiple dimensional time is here now and forever. That's that's a interesting concept. It really is. But I mean, it does sometimes explain some of the things going on. And yeah, get off. Put my leg to sleep. Um, yeah, sometimes it actually makes sense. Um,
Yeah,
that we're seeing stuff bleeding over, or you've heard stories and stuff like that where people talk and when you hear, and it's like somebody else is having a conversation, like, and basically the same thing. It's like, did you hear that? Is there somebody here? They were talking like they're seeing a ghost.
right. Yeah,
Um, and that when those stories there, when I hear them, makes me wonder, like, we is that what it truly is? Is that what's bleeding over? Is are we reaching, able to hear some of these other um, dimensions or multiverse or what in the world it is? Because if they're like, they're sitting there saying the same thing, like, hey, did you hear that?
yeah,
What was that? What was that noise? And it's like, y'all the ones are, which of course, that's, um, the Sixth Sense showed us, like some of them don't realize they're actually gone.
yeah,
So maybe, that could be some facts there too. Like I said, it's E all above. It really is. It's, it could be so many factors, and it'd be all the factors because they, it could be, they don't know they're gone, and boom, here they are, walking around and having conversations and going, wait a minute, we heard something. What was that? Or it is that bleed over.
yeah. One of my, even though it was eventually taken over by the big networks and everything, one of my favorite things I ever saw on like the original Ghost Hunters TV show was where they were at this baby supply, like this kids supply store or whatever, and furniture store, and they've been told about this one employee at the store. I have to look up one of these days because then I can actually say that, like, give the right name, but I think it was Ruth was her first name, and they were told about this employee that used to work there, and everyone there that now thinks it was her, causing all the paranormal activity. And I know it was Jason, might have been Grant too at the time, but anyway, two of the major figures in that team were sitting in this room full of like recliners one day, this night, and doing an AVP session, trying to get voice on the recorders, and they kept on asking, Ruth, are you here? And they got these voices on these recorders saying, there is no Ruth here. Like, leave us alone. Literally, those two things. So, like, just blew my mind because there's direct answers. There's hey, knock it off. Like, why are you calling for this person for? They're not even here. Leave us alone.
Mm-hmm.
And were those ghosts, or were those just living people in another space or time? And hearing these voices asking for a roof, and they're like, "Will you just stop? Leave us alone."
Yeah, I like the original Ghost Hunters. The first few seasons and stuff, for sure. Before we talked about that before, before
Yeah,
you could tell the producers and stuff got a hold of it and trying to twist stuff around. And well, I kind of like seeing some of those, stars and stuff that haven't. It's just like the car shows, really. I like a lot of the car shows and a lot of the guys that they're so much better on YouTube because they're actually free to kind of say how they want it and do what they
yeah,
want to do. And the same with the paranormal shows and stuff like that. Some of the people that are on the major networks, they got a YouTube channel and they can still go around and do the ghost hunting and stuff. And but they're not limited to they can show everything going on. They're not limited to how the production is trying to twist it and make it something that it probably isn't.
yeah, yeah. No, I'm a lot more. If I was going to watch, and I mean, I have now, thanks to you. You directed me to David, the haunting history channel. When he did that investigation that you sent me the live stream link to that one night.
Hmm.
I like watching that because yeah, it's not. There's no network behind them making them do or say anything, and you still get to see the place that they're looking at, and even if nothing happens, it's still fascinating because they'll talk about the history and other things that happened to them there, and I do think that kind of TV is great. It has its place, as long as it is free. It is not being controlled by any major networks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, and some of the and I can't think. I'm trying. I have one of the people in picture in my head, but I can't think of her name. But she was on one bunch of different shows and stuff like that. But she's got her own YouTube channel and stuff, and she does some cool interview, walk arounds and stuff like that. It's cool to see, and like I said, that um, without the major production and stuff, and go back, it is kind of cool, you go back and hey, look at this, and you see, you hear something, and then they can go back and play it for you 100 times or whatever. But it is nice to be able to see the site that they're on and walk around and see the exact same thing.
Yeah, yeah. That's I mean, even when I went to a couple of public investigations. I didn't expect it to have any experiences because realistically, you can't. You know, expect to have paranormal activity happen on demand, but it was still neat to just go see places and hear about people's experiences that they had there while you're in that location. So, and of course, maybe because it's me, I don't know, or other people that were there. Um, you know, every time I went, I did have experiences. Not major, not huge, but still, uh,
Hmm.
something happened here and there. So, yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. What's up, hiker? Appreciate you lurking now in the chat. Um, Watchman's got another question for us.
Okay.
Um, and it's a good one. I do think, you know, it's the huge one, really. Why, if you die, you might linger around on this earth? So I'm going to heaven, at least to the throne of room to be judged. And I believe I go to heaven, though. Is it heaven or hell? Uh, on that, I wonder that question sometimes is like, and of course, some spirits like we've talked about tonight, even like some of it is residual energy and stuff like that. Like my mom was talking when she came on, talking about my grandfather walking, you know, to the kitchen and getting stuff, getting some food or whatever, like just the same noise and everything. And I wonder that too, if it is because you also you look like if you're looking at like biblically and everything, and they talk about with the second coming of Jesus and the rapture, and then when he gets, hits the sky, and then he's gonna call all of his, um, everybody's gonna meet him in the sky. All the graves are open and all like that. So it's like I'm like, well, I'm wondering which one is it? Is it, are we still here until that time, or is it, you know, I- or there's some like here. I don't know. I'm confused on that right there. I always have been, because if you look and get into Revelation and stuff, and you look into rapture and the calling up. But then if everybody just goes to heaven or hell, how is their spirits? And that's why like a lot of people are like, well, if they're spirits, they're demons and stuff, which I don't believe that. Angels, there's angels and demons, and that's it. If you believe that, that's you don't, you don't have to believe what I believe, but I don't believe that. I just me personally, my opinion. Um, that's and I wonder that why are we? I do believe in the paranormal. I've seen too many things now. I'm like absolutely been too many situations in my almost 47 years that I've seen, and it's like there's no other explanation that there is a there is a supernatural, and there's lots of things for sure we'll never really truly understand until we get on the other side and have that enlightenment of being on that side of things. But I don't know. I mean, it could be some unfinished business. You hear about stuff like that, and you hear stories about people going, you know, afterwards, and it'd be a light or falling a light. It very well could be. Others, people just like, I'm not ready. I'd rather sitting around or just denying that they are. I don't know. Very good, very good question, though. What do you think, James?
I don't know how any of this works either, except it does seem like, based on, if you look into enough reports of people that say they've had contact with loved ones that after they passed, or they've been in places where there's been activity, it seems to me, based on everything I've heard and read, a lot of what happens with us, with our energy, our consciousness after we pass, it can depend on what we think is supposed to happen or believe is supposed to happen, depending on what culture or religion we're brought up with. And you see that in visitations where people will say, loved ones will come back and say, I'm in heaven. Or there's one I found, a kind of experience someone had. They had this dream of being in an apartment with one of their relatives and someone else they didn't recognize, and their relative literally said to them, "You wouldn't believe all the paperwork that, or something like that. You wouldn't believe how hard it is to get into the afterlife." This idea of, I think it can depend on what we all think or expect or feel is going to happen. And I think if you get, enough people throughout time sharing those same systems of thought, or what they've been told or what they feel, there may be many versions of an afterlife. Everyone in culture A, they do go to a place that is like what they think it is, because all that consciousness, it it has made that place in a way, or it has found that place, even if it already existed. So I think it can all depend on that. And sometimes you hear about encounters with spirits in places, and it seems like their home or their work or whatever, a certain place, is the spirit's idea of a perfect afterlife, where they want to be there, they're happy to be there, and they're enjoying themselves being there. So I'm at the point now where I feel like so much of it, and in the darker side, if someone thinks that they're stuck in a place, it may be that they are until someone else can come along and convince them that they're not. Or, if they feel like they don't deserve to be in some kind of a positive afterlife, then again, you know, unfortunately, it may take some talking and empathy and, you know, sort of interaction with people that are here physically to convince them otherwise. So I don't really have one view on all, like an afterlife. I think it all just depends on people and massive, millions, billions of people throughout time who have probably made and or found different versions of that afterlife.
Yeah, we're kind of like trouble minds. There's no definite answers here. We're just asking questions and trying to wiggle away and trying to find the truth in the questions and stuff. But you know,
Yeah. And I mean, this is just, again, everything I say is just based on accounts of experiences that I find, and you all can do that yourselves. You don't need me to do it. They're out there in books and, documentary movies and TV shows. Documentary, not necessarily reality TV shows. That is a difference there. But also online forums, where people put down their experiences online and share them. So, um, anyway, just to point out that you know, I'm not saying that this is how it is. This is just all based on stuff I've found that you can find too.
James, you are the arbiter of truth, being the paranormal expert of the known universe. You're supposed to be the bees all.
Yeah, thanks, Ricky. I feel so special.
But yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, um, I don't want to say how do I want to. Like I said, it is an interesting question, and I've battled with that question in my head many times, and trying to figure out the truth in my mind. Like I said, I haven't figured absolute truth yet. Like I said, the more and more I dig into this stuff, the more I look, and um, more I learn. It just shows there's more to learn. But really, I mean, more you look into things, it's a never ending journey of learning because no one person has all the answers. If they
Yeah,
say they do, you might want to run from them.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I know everything and I can tell you everything. How my way is the way,
Yeah,
you know. And they're a human. Run, you know.
yeah, and that goes for paranormal. That goes, I think, for almost most things, because
Hmm.
there's no way one brain can contain all the answers and hold them there. There's it's like when people will tell me, will say, remember that one show that you did a while ago and you talked about this and that, and I'm like, no, sorry, I don't. It's gone. you know.
I'm so on pulling back up. But I just I need triggers,
Yeah.
I, and once I hit the triggers, then it's like it kicks the door open and like lets everything flow out.
Yeah, that's true. Once in a while that works for me, but it's not all the time, and it's a lot of times it's a trigger that happens accidentally that makes me think of something, and then I'll get it out before I forget it again.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But that's what happens when you're researching and talking about all these things all the time. It just again, it's impossible to hold it all in your brain at the same time.
It is. I mean, it really, really is. I mean, and then just there's only so much information. That's why you have like, I mean, it is why you have experts of certain things. Like, hey, this is, you know, I mean, just having being an expert of everything. Just there's not enough hours in the day, to absolute, have it's good to have a good jest on lots of subjects. And like I feel myself that I have that's the boat I'm in. I can step in any panel or any conversation and hold my own. By no means I'm no expert or on a lot of things, or just I know it all, but I have enough understanding to a grasp on it where I can. Well, okay.
Yeah, and that's the I think that's the key thing too. Is though talking with people about these things, and because then you get enough people together, as long as they're being respectful and agreeing to disagree and all that. It's amazing what connections a group of people can make. That one person, it'd be pretty hard to do that because you know we don't all take in all the same content all the time, and things
Hmm.
don't stand out for us. Like with that show with Derek, last this Wednesday, I guess, still technically. Um, I the thing that he was talking about there, all the connections with all the disclosure stuff that's happening right now and all that. Like I didn't know any of the sports related stuff. I had no idea um,
Hmm.
about any of that because I don't follow sports. And so, but then the fun part for me is taking all that in and seeing connections with the stuff I do look into, all the paranormal stuff, and uh, just a little teaser. That's some of what we'll be talking about tonight. What we talked about tonight over on Trouble Minds Radio. He's gonna be getting into that. Mike's gonna be getting into all that. So looking forward to that in a bit.
Oh, cool, cool. Yeah, I've got another 50 minutes to
Yeah,
trouble minds. Yeah, Watchmen. I've done. Um, I've read the Bible a lot. I went to for my education, for most of my education, elementary and high school. I went to a Christian school and stuff like that. So I used to like to. Um, I probably should have known I'd like to do this kind of thing because I used to like having debates with people and come in there and have conversations with them and throw they throw stuff at me and I throw stuff right back at them. All right, what about this? Especially going like the different denominations and stuff. I was like I went to the Church of Christ and some of their doctrine I disagree with and I explained um, through Scripture how I disagreed with it and did not agree. But you know, I don't mean it's bad or they are bad. It's just I don't know. I just didn't. I don't agree with everybody on anything. There's not just how I am. There's nobody in the world I'm gonna agree 100% with or um, just how I am and how I've always been.
I'm offended, Ricky. You have to agree with everything I say on this show,
Except for you, James. Yeah, because you're the paranormal expert of the known universe. Whatever
and
you say
I'm
on paranormal, I gotta agree with.
and I'm obviously kidding for anyone that doesn't know. But yeah, no, I. Speaking of agreeing or disagreeing, I agree on that. There's too much out there, and things can there's always new information popping up that could change and does change how people think about things and you know lead us to other ideas that could be more accurate about how things are or not. You never know.
Absolutely. I mean, and then the big thing is like, especially when you start looking into, you're looking into books, you're looking into scripture, you're looking at anything like that. Start looking into, you're looking into the original text, the original meanings of the words. You start looking at that stuff like that because as things get translated over time, words mean different things. So to have the context of what certain things mean he had to have a full picture. And it's like people do with textbooks and stuff like that, or anything, or Bible verses or anything like that. They'll pull just one or one little line. This means this, guaranteed. Like, and it's concrete. And I'm like, well, what else is around there? What's the Give me the full paragraph, or you know, um, or the whole chapter that whatever that was written in. It was in the Bible, or if it was in a book, or wherever it was at. Well, where's the rest of context?
Yeah.
It's just like personal, things that's happening. Everything has a context of, where you were or what you've been through, and who you are and how you look at things and stuff, and what you've been through. I was telling the story. This is gonna be this ADD squirrel to the moment, but it kind of comes together. But a friend of mine, I'll leave him nameless. A friend of mine come up to me one day and he's like, you know, I was raised, and truly, he was like basically telling me, he told me he was like, I was raised to. He was a black guy, and he was like, I was raised to. I was raised to hate white people, absolutely, and he's I didn't like them whatsoever, all through I was a kid, and all the way up until he got like preteen or teenager or something like that, and he moved out to suburbs. And then when he moved out to suburbs, he turned around and he had all these all these white kids and all these different races of kids and stuff like that. And they're like, hey, come here, play with my toys or whatever. And everybody was super cool. And he was like, hey, wait a minute. I thought, all these people were evil, or these people are bad, or, you know. And then that's when he learned as a kid, though, hey, not everybody is, you can't put everybody in a box and you can't put everybody in a thing. And so, and the reason I'm saying that is just that context. Like, if he just looked at that skewed negative context here, if he's looking at everything with them glasses that has that color, the shading of that, that ignorance and hate, it makes you look at stuff so different, And then once you take those off and you can look at the thing, the full picture, like, oh, wait a minute, there's so much more here, and these people are great, these people right here are great. I don't know what the ones down the street, but these one right here are great. And and then looking at having context of, looking at information and looking at when you're studying things, you gotta, look at like, I truly, my tism kicks in every once in a while. And like if I'm really doing research or something, man, I'm gonna have all kinds of tabs. I'm gonna pull up all kinds of stuff. If I'm on my computer doing research or something, I'm looking at every possible, like, okay, here's this. All right, let me figure out, back check or and throw every variable I could at it, to see if I can get the full picture. And it's a lot of things. That's what you got to do. What's up,
Yeah.
Merlin? What's up, Kramos? Greetings, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I do with audio. I'm always, because I can't read things a ton visually. I think if I didn't have any low vision, I'd probably be the same as you, Ricky. I'd probably have, you know, a browser full of tabs open all the time.
Oh yeah.
Uh, I could imagine myself doing that, but that's why I'm always trying to listen to things, because that's how I have to do things for the most part. And so yeah, and it takes time, and that's why I listen to so many audiobooks, and that's how I found that one little bit of information that I've never heard about before, with the clothes being used for insulation. Um, I heard that in an audiobook, and it just set up the whole chain of thoughts in my mind. Like, well, wait, you know, that can explain some paranormal activity in places. And of course, I did. I looked online and checked into it to see if what was out there. And there wasn't a ton about the paranormal side of it, of course, that I was able to find like in a quick search. But uh, I guess it's one of those things. If you look into these things enough, you don't always need to. Like I didn't need to have that because already in my mind I was already figuring things out of what what it could be causing. But I did look up the whole aspect of that being a real thing that people did, and looked up enough results on a search, and yeah, it's mentioned in many places, and I love when stuff like that happens because it's something I'd never heard of or thought of before.
Hmm. Restless spirits. Yeah. I don't know, Merlin. Hopefully that storm don't get you. He said it got thunder shaking things here.
Oh boy.
I thought I was gonna have a storm here myself. It was raining earlier. I got me a little nap with the rain hitting the metal roof.
Oh yeah, rain, a light, and not like a torrential rain, just basic rain can. I love that sound.
Hmm. Just relaxing. And plus, I've been running for the last few days and up early and up staying up late and up early, back up early the next morning, and I'm like, oh, wore me down. But today I got to catch up a little bit.
Staying up late, who does that? I mean, for some kind of a show, who does that? We don't do that.
Yeah, I was on. I popped on. I was working on shorts and working on stuff on the show, and then I was like, man, I popped that up on. Pulled up Saturday Night Anarchy on Rumble, and like Tom was like, "Come on, get on here." He dropped the link. I was like, "Oh, all right, here I come, here I come." I was like, here we go. Here goes another hour and a half of my life. Which was
It
just fun. It
sounds
was a
like
good conversation and everything. It was really was. I
yeah.
enjoyed getting on there and talking. So, which again, it
That's the
was
thing.
one of the things I can run my mouth. I got it I got it natural for sure. My grandma, my mom's mom, hell, she'd walk up to anybody, and she was back in the day. She was one of the people. She would run around and I can't think of the word, but would go around and like find information on people, and could dig, back in like even in the '60s and stuff like that, '50s and '40s, could
Is it
run around and find information and stuff on people.
yeah.
And
Is
I
it
can't the word.
genealogist? I
Well,
think
no, it was just
no,
like a
just a
not
researcher.
like a PI, but like
Yeah.
kind of like a PI, but I can't. But there's another word for it. It's not in my. It's in my head. I can see it almost, and it's just like not coming out. Um, but yeah, she could just walk up to somebody in the middle of the store, and all of a sudden I could go pick up something, and come back to the basket or something like that, and she's like, "Oh, this is such and such," and they're related to da 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 da, and then and just turn around and relay their whole life story, and that's just what how she was. She talked to anybody, and I think I've gathered a piece of that gift, maybe.
Yeah. It's funny because my dad and my uncle have had a classic rock band for 50 plus years now, and my all my siblings on that side of my family, they're all into different kinds of the arts. You could say one is my older sister has been in different bands, and she's done some acting in local plays. And my older brother has also done some acting in local plays and writing plays and stuff. And my younger sister on that side is into like visual arts, photography, and drawing and painting and all that. And it took me years. I was into writing for the good like half of my life or more, but and now I'm into all this. So I think things can definitely run in families.
Oh yeah, I mean it's going to be. Um, It's amazing how things like they'll skip a generation, or like mom was on here talking a while back. How different family members had gifts, and has sensitive to certain things. It's
Yeah.
it. I do really believe that some of this stuff for real is hereditary, and
Oh
it
yeah.
gets passed down, because I mean there's too much stuff where little kids and just pick up guitars and just start playing, and it's like, and then they find out later on, like like a couple generations back, a great grandfather or something like that could play the guitar really well. You're like, well, maybe here we go, um, and things like that. It really is, it does get passed along, passed down, passed along, I guess.
Yeah. And that paranormal, the different aspects of spiritual or paranormal sensitivity and gifts and all that too. I mean, my dad doesn't really have it, even though he had a couple experiences. But my grandma's father apparently was very sensitive. My grandma was somewhat sensitive, obviously. Um, and then it seems that I think my aunts, my grandma's daughters, they've had a couple of experiences each here and there. But my dad and my uncle, I don't think they've had. My dad has only had like two. And then after that, my older sister and I, and my younger sister had a couple experiences in her house. But as I always like to joke, it seems like I'm the one that got the most of the sensitivity out of everyone so far that I've ever heard in my family. So I hit that particular lottery there.
The Martin said, called family inheritance.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. We get um, looks or height or eye color, or it's amazing what gets passed down. And like I said, it to me is the really amazing thing is that how it skips generations like that. All of a
yeah,
sudden you look back and you see a picture of your great great grandma or something like that, and or your grandfather, and y'all look exactly alike.
yes,
It's like you were your great parents reborn. It's pretty amazing, how the genes stay together, and keep and pass along some of this energy and gifts. We all
yeah.
have gifts. I do believe that we all have gifts.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I mean, I think there's this whole idea of like if you're not an artist of any kind, like if you're not into the arts, then then you don't have a gift. And I don't buy that because I think people that are good at like mathematical stuff or science stuff, they'll say that they're not creative, but then there's people that in those fields that come up with these amazing discoveries and ways of doing things, and to me, that's a gift. That's that they were able to figure out how to do this one thing that no
Hmm.
one else figured out how to do yet. So it's just I do think it is all creativity is not just in the common uh, jobs or professions that we all think it might be in.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, just because somebody don't have a gift of music or art, they can't draw, they can't play an instrument, does not mean they have some kind of other gift in some other way, and that there's many gifts. Everybody has something, you know. Sometimes they're scared to kind of develop it or see it. Um, you know,
Yeah.
I do got a crazy. Um, have you heard of somebody like? Let's see. I mean, how do I want to word this right here?
Well, just real quick, while you're
Go
thinking
ahead.
of that, um, no, I think I lost what I was going to say. So yeah, sorry about that. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. No, Stone says insanity too. My grandma was batshit crazy. I got it from her. um, but if you turn around before I move my loss of my
Yeah.
thought process here. Let's see, before my squirrel brain goes and starts running around, bouncing in the walls. So like if you have somebody go, hey, here's a something just touched me, and then like as soon as you say that, well, that was like, and just have somebody turn around and go, well, that was something, in this straight face, no emotion, just say, hey, that was a little girl, that was a little kid trying to get a hold, get your attention, you know, and then go on their way. It's just like that moment that you're like in tune to the environment around, like knowing exactly what happened. Um, have you heard of things like that?
Yeah, I mean, people that not everyone sees or senses things the same way. Obviously, some people seem to be better at having experiences with human spirits. Others don't. Others seem to be better at sort of picking up on like other non-human entities, good or bad, or even creatures or cryptids. There's people out there that have over the course of their life they have multiple UFO sightings, and they don't know how, and they're not actively looking for it until
Mhm.
it happens. That was the thing that actually I just remembered now. Sort of related, not maybe not exactly, but I think you know, it can take decades for someone to find their gift that they really
I think
enjoy
so
using.
too.
Yeah,
And
because I
accept
mean,
it, and
yeah,
accept that they have it, and like, just blowing off. Oh, that was a coincidence. That was a coincidence of what
right,
just happened. That was a coincidence. Like, you have coincidence happen like 14 times. Like, it's not a coincidence anymore. If you had the same situation happen, and but a lot of people want to kind of deny their gifts and overlook them.
yeah. At this point, and I've noticed this years ago, if a thought will not leave my mind about something I want to do or should do, if it will not go away, no matter how hard I try to make it go away, then I've gotten to the point now where I just accept it. Like, okay, apparently I'm supposed to do this, whatever this is, and that's how I got into the whole, talking podcast thing. Is that I was listening to so many shows and I was really fascinated by all the topics, and I just in the back of my mind, this little part of me was like, you could do that. You should do that. And at first I was like, no, I don't talk to people. I'm not a talker. It doesn't that family. Yeah, okay, I'll talk with them obviously, but I'm not gonna go and talk to people online. That I don't think I can do that. And obviously I was wrong. So and that didn't happen until like I don't know. Well, I mean, it'll be 6 years of the podcast as of this Halloween that I've been doing my own podcast, and so that didn't happen until just recently, within the last decade.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Now I take care of Watchmen. Um, Watchmen did have a question about here about soul speak, an internal voice that comes from the trunk of your body between your waist and shoulders. That crazy experience I had. Too long to chat, but it happened in 23.
Hmm, that's interesting. I haven't
Hmm.
had that, but I don't doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, especially like having voices, you know. I don't know. I would think it would be, maybe I'm wrong, but maybe it was like a conscience.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, why, uh, like that's your conscience that you're speaking to. That's the internal, like, your soul speaking to you. You know, you had an intuition. Um, when I could see that. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, and I do think there's things that come from inside of us, these messages, these voices, and there can be things that come from other beings that are out there meant to send those messages to us. You hear about like downloads and stuff, and or actual voices. My talking about my grandma again, something that had happened with her and her sister at that same house that was haunted. There was this one day my grandma got there in the morning, and she realized she didn't have the key to get in the house, and she was so annoyed she just in her mind just shouted out her sister's name, but just in her mind, and because she was just frustrated, she wasn't even trying to contact her. She was just annoyed, and something, I guess maybe something made her think, or her own, I don't know, consciousness went, well, just call out there, and she did, basically without realizing it. A few minutes later, my grandma's sister comes to the door and looks outside, and she says that she heard my grandma yell for her. But my grandma didn't physically yell, but she kind of did in her mind. So I think those kind of, I think telepathy is real. I think we just don't always we just don't know as a species exactly how it works, and how to use that 24/7 as of yet.
yeah, yeah. I think that's a big thing is where people are, um, don't know how to expand on their gifts, and I've wondered that myself and everything, for sure. Just like how when you have these certain gifts of like telepathy or let's see, I was looking up where's it at? I got a video. I was talking about some of this stuff, and I want to see if I can find it where I had the names I want to the right names I want to put in there.
Well,
Um,
telekinesis and all that too.
yeah, it's just it's always like some of that stuff like that. Is like um, yeah, like psychometry and
Yep.
or you can touch something and turn around and make um, where you can sense stuff. I know it happened to me before where like you pick up something and just like hey or just sense that Nostradamus says telepathy is real. Uh, and um, just it's one of them things that like for me for sure it was like one of them things I've had questions and like how do you expand this? How do I like I said before for many years I was like who do you even talk to about this stuff? But that's
Yeah.
not going to make you think that you're crazy as hell, um, or you're just talking out your butt. And so that's it's good that we there are more and more places now that you can actually have an open conversation about more of the woo woo stuff that nobody wants to grasp on or want to dismiss. And sadly, like a lot of people, like they've seen it or had situations, but they'll still just avoid the situation, and you because they don't understand, they don't want to grow from it at all.
Yeah, and I mean, there's this idea that I think is put out there through, again, not that I think it's all wrong, but science, and not that I think science is wrong, but there are people that use that as almost like a religion, as like dogma in a way. But the idea that we have things figured out, overall, and when things don't work the way we think they're supposed to work, I can understand, some people maybe more than others. I'm not sure, and that's not any disrespect, but it just, if it can't be real, then it must not have been real. That didn't really happen. There's some other reason for it. I can't figure it out right now, but
Mhm.
it must be there, and I'm just going to try not to think about it.
Yeah, let me put my head in the sand or put the blanket over my head and where I can just avoid avoid the situation because even though they know it, I mean, it absolutely happened. But it is a scary process, especially if you're somebody that just started, having something situation happen or
Oh
they
yeah,
see something that just does not fit in their box.
yeah,
It is a scary moment that, like how do you deal, and again, like I said, there's such a negative connotation uh, for some of these things, and especially like I said, I think it's better now, but it still is. There's still a lot of people who are like, "Well, you're just crazy. That's you're imagining things," you know, and, that's, and I think that's what happens a lot of times, like with kids and stuff like that. That's why we go
yes,
away from it because there's kids, are still mind open and wide open. They have no blinders whatsoever. They're trying to learn everything they can, um, and then you turn around and go, "No, that's not real. That's not real." Yeah, it's just your imagination. And then so you hear that enough times, then you put that, well, that's imagination in your box. And so you have to, uh, and so it's hard, and then you turn around and as you get older and if you start still having these situations happen, and it is hard to open up and go, oh, wait a minute, maybe, maybe that was my imagination when I was a kid, maybe there was more to it. And then you hear parents, talking, and they have it with their best interest in heart, like, "Hey, I don't want my child scared."
yes,
It's like, "Hey, I saw a monster in my bed." Well, there's not a monster in your bed. You're good, kind of thing. You just want to keep them keep fear and not bring sleep good.
right.
But there is a balance to it,
Oh yeah,
but you don't want to shun their outlook either, or make them feel bad about, they can see things or. Like it's a thin line. It really is. Like some of it, and some of it's going to be imagination because kids got very, unless they're drugged up on, Ritalin or
yeah,
something, they're going to have an amazing imagination and think all kind of stuff. We talked about that last night. On that it was, that's what they want. They want you to be all drugged up and 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 I'm thankful my parents didn't put me on anything. I really am. They
yeah.
took me to the doctor and they're like, he needs Ritalin because he's too hyper. I'm like, my mom, and dad's like, nope, he's gonna be a kid. Let him play. Let him be a kid. And it's wild. You see on both sides. On one side they're like, hey, this is just a kid. On the other side, they letting kids make decisions that will affect their life, and it's crazy. I won't dig into that, but um,
Yeah.
But I was like, man, as a kid, I remember like as a little kindergarten and stuff like that, playing Scooby Doo and, walk around like my friend was Shaggy and I was Scooby Doo and I walk around on the floor, we looking for stuff or whatever, just being kids and having imagination. And, did I really believe I was Scooby Doo? No, I just, I was having fun.
Yeah, and
Playing, being a Ninja Turtle or whatever, Ghostbusters, walking around. I tried to build here's a fun story for a history lesson on me. I tried to build a proton pack when I was a kid.
oh, what could go wrong with that?
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure my parents found it. They found I was working on the gun part, and I had put a whole bunch of stuff together, and I don't remember what I put together to this day and everything. But parents found it, and he thought I was going to burn the house down or something if I tried to plug it in or whatever. But it was they were frowned on me for. Not that I was being creative, but they were worried that I was going to truly burn the damn house down, especially if I tried to plug it in. But Yeah, I was mad as hell though. I was like, I've been working hard on that. I had it in like a little drawer or whatever, and I was working on it. And I'd find other pieces that I thought would work together, and I mean, they were like real like electrical parts and stuff I had to find um, and put together, and yeah. I remember
But
it had
no,
a wire
even
come off. I remember it had a wire come off of it. Of course, that was that was 40 years ago, whatever. But I remember I had a wire coming off of it, and I don't remember what I used. Mom might remember. I bet my mom would remember. But you know, they, I really did. I tried to build a proton pack, and I got so far. I got so far and got stopped. Doggone it. You know, I
you might
don't
have
know
been
why
one of
they
those
stopped
kids
me.
that made like a nuclear reactor in their home if they hadn't stopped you.
Here, you hear them kids doing that, and I'm like some of them parents are very supportive. Like, how in the world are you buying all this stuff? Like, oh, I need this right here. I'm like, okay, here you go, son. Here's here, here's you some stuff that'll make you could blow the house in half. But no
Some
big deal.
plutonium, no big
Gonna let
deal.
you be creative.
But no, too with you know the whole idea of I mean, there's real skepticism where you're trying to figure out everything, and then there's the modern version of it, which is that can be again that can't be real. So you're making it up, or you're just confused. And people will use that idea of like, well, they must have been watching TV shows and they must have been interested in ghosts before they had a ghost sighting. And I can tell you so often in my own experience and others too, there's people that have experiences that have not looked into any of that stuff yet. They start looking into that stuff after they have the experience because they want to know what they saw or heard or felt. And
Hmm.
and then even then, there's this idea that well, if they saw it somewhere on TV, then they must have just made it up and be mistaken about what they saw because they saw it on TV. I maybe sometimes, but when you have that, people having experiences again and again and again throughout time, even before there was TV, that argument to me does not hold up for everything that happens.
Oh yeah, I mean, and no doubt. I mean, I'm sure certain things. I know we talked about this before. If you're watching, you know, if you see if you see an orb, and if you just been watching UFO shows and stuff like that, and that's all you're watching, you don't think that orb is a UFO or some kind of, you know,
Right.
extraterrestrial kind of thing, or if you've been watching ghost shows and shock docs and stuff, well, you're gonna think that's a spirit. That orb was a spirit. And for sure, what you're inputting in your brain, and it will affect, how you see things, and have that skew. Um, it's like I was talking, have fun with Jehovah's Witnesses and stuff like that, and Mormons and stuff. I have fun and have conversation with them. And I had some Mormons come up to my house one day, and I think I almost converted them. I had one I had on the hook. He was halfway there, but we were talking about different, like different scripture, and like I said, I got a pretty good jest on a lot of scripture, and I'm rusty, but I think I still hold my own with a lot of people. But I was sitting there talking about it, like I was like, yeah, it's all how like the different skew of different people, and so it's like this bush right here. I'm gonna say, hey, it's a bush, and then you might say it's a azalea bush, and then the other guy might say, well, that's the whole technical name for what a azalea bush is, the big
Yeah.
full name. You know, are we saying the same? It's all the same thing, and we're naming what we think, but because of where we came from, and everybody's skews of just different life experiences. Some people has lost their parents, you know, some people's lost both, some people's lost one, some people were just foster. There's so many things like that that make you look at things totally different. So I think that's another absolute variable of the skew of looking into some of these things and some of the like even the paranormal.
Yep.
What they've seen and what they've inputted, they're going to for sure going to affect their vision and their mind of how things are, and and the and and what they think they is. What
Yeah. It's like with a, if I say the word table, you know, imagine a table. How many different kinds of tables are there? There's coffee tables, there's end tables,
hmm
there's dining room tables, there's kitchen tables, which may be the same as dining room tables, but maybe not, you know. And the same thing with ghost. I saw a ghost. Well, what did it look like? You know, I mean, and you can ask people, this two or three people can say that same thing, and you can ask them that same question, and you may not get all the same answers. Some ghosts appear to be transparent or semi-transparent. Others appear to be solid. They look like a living person. You know, others may not even be a conscious ghost. It may just be an image of a person that lived. Um, but it's still, a lot of people still consider that to be a ghost or a spirit or a soul. Again, like we always talk about on many shows, yours, mine, Trouble Minds, I'm sure everywhere too, labels. We kind of need to have some. We kind of need to have them to start a conversation to get ideas across, at least to start with. But there's always going to be different versions of them.
hmm Oh, no doubt, absolutely, absolutely. Curious now, Kramos, he got a link for us. We're gonna go about 10 more minutes, but I dropped my email there in the chat there for you, Kramos. So, and Jen, that's pretty interesting on that doll. She said she begged for a doll for Christmas one time, and then she got the doll, and she slept with it, but that night and got so terrified of it, she jumped out of bed and told her mom about it, and she took the doll, bagged it up, and hid it away from her for 22 years, and just
Yeah,
brought it back to her. That's pretty neat.
yeah. She's talked about that before. I think on my show, either that or Mike's show, Trouble Minds. I
Yeah,
can't
and
remember which one. But yeah, of course, we all know how much fun dolls can be.
yeah. Yeah, I'm good on some of them. Some of them dolls, man, they look. I know we've talked, said it a bunch of times, but man, some of them dolls are so creepy. Ooh,
It
creepy,
always
creepy.
makes me think of um, this one story one of my friends told me, and I tell it once in a while here. Put different places about how he went to his girlfriend's place once, and his girlfriend's mom, I think it was, had a whole shelf, like a whole wall, shelves full of dolls, and they went in there and all of a sudden one night while they were in there in the house, they started hearing this knocking, bumping sound, and it was just one sound, bump, 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 and they came out of the room they were in, and all the legs of all the dolls were at the same time moving forward and backward and hitting the shelves that they were sitting on. And, you know, no thank you. I'm fine not having that happen. I'm fascinated by it, but I, I, you'll- I will never have, if I can help it, a wall shelf full of dolls. And I mean, I say that, but then there's, people that, like we had one of the guests on a while ago, they had a shelf full of dolls because they were trying to keep them from people, keep,
Mhm.
these entities within these dolls from interacting with kids, dealing, messing with kids. So that's a fascinating thing, and I think that's a good reason to have them. But I don't ever want to deal with that.
Yeah, yeah, and and I know that's like what the Warrens were doing and stuff like that. Some of the stuff they collected was to try to keep it out of population and stuff. Yeah, yeah, like especially that one doll he had that he said it come out, um, and it would the face would come out and turn and look just like like on Vigo on the Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah. No,
I'm
thank you.
good. That there either me or that doll would have to move. We're going like if it's
Yep.
coming out like a face is coming out of that damn thing. Um, yeah, no, I'm good on that. Like I said, some of them dolls they look so creepy and stuff. I go to them thrift stores and you see them like, eh. I know other
Well,
people they freak out. So sometimes I do mean and I send pictures of them to people like, hey, what do you think about this? Like, oh no, f you.
funny, I just heard
Why
a
you?
bump on my back wall. Sound like a little bump.
Oh yeah.
So interesting. Anyway,
Anything is possible.
yeah. Yep, including in this apartment, apparently, still. Things happen here and there still.
Cramo sent me a link. I seen this before, or something similar. Not this one here, but it's similar. It's a Rememory. That's where they'll upload videos and photos and stuff of your loved ones, and it uses AI technology. Makes these.
Oh, yeah.
You can upload photos and audio you provide, and it'll make AI will make the technology into memorable videos and stuff so you can watch like your grandfather or something talk to you. I don't know about some of that.
That's another nope for me.
Yeah, yeah, that's like Suzanne Summers' husband making that doll where it has all her memories and stuff. They're inputting the memories in. I like that. Not the doll. She's a damn
Yeah.
robot. Um, yeah, I feel for that man. Like that just makes he's just hurting
Yeah.
that bad that he misses her that bad that he needed to do something. Somebody put that pop in his head and like, oh yeah, you could do this. I'm like, man, that's rough. You know. Um,
Well, and I, even if there's nothing, like, I do think a lot of AI and robots and all that, even if they seem to be, like, if they're made really well or, designed to act human, it's probably still, there's probably still nothing going on there, really. It just seems like there is. But if entities, spirits, souls, whatever, can go and inhabit dolls throughout time now. We've been talking about this for years. Uh, who says they can't go and make their home in one of these new robotic, you know, humanoid shapes and start acting in ways that you don't expect? Like I do
mhm.
not discount that possibility because I think it can happen. And those things now they run on power. They have batteries. They have electricity. And there's already been so much throughout time reports of paranormal activity surrounding devices. So no, no, thank you.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm gonna have to pass on. I just had to they keep my memories and stuff and let it be. I don't know. Because I mean, it'd be what would the possibilities of being able to use it and stuff like that, and especially somebody just really hurting, you
Hmm.
know, and then they could manipulate it, like turn around and
Yes.
somebody could get a hold of it and like, and now you got your dad or your mom or your grandma or somebody sitting here having a conversation with you and telling you to do stuff that you don't need to do.
Yeah.
Um, it's scary. Because you know, you always there's all kinds of positives and stuff like that. The possibility, but there's also that negative si- situation that could come up. For sure. And
Yeah. Well, it's like I always say. I'm not against the idea of technology in and of itself. There's a lot of technology that is great. I'm just, it's made by people that have all the money and all the power and can be
Mm-hmm.
manipulated by those people. And that's what I'm against. That's what I don't like.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Because they're gonna manipulate. They're gonna take things and twist it and make you know and make trouble people do things that they don't need to be doing or seeing or anything like that. It's one of them. Because if you are truly hurting your lost loved one and something like that, it's easy. It'd be easier to manipulate them for sure if you get this technology that makes them look like they're having a conversation and asking questions or whatever, and he's like, well, yeah.
Well, and it can be used, you should buy this product. That's like the simple, you know, bad thing. But to get more advanced, here's my one and only little non-paranormal thing here. They
Uh-oh.
could make things. Oh, huh.
I was like, James talking non-paranormal. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, I thought there was a technical issue, but no.
Oh, no.
Or they can make you say, or make them say, you should really support this person's agenda. This is for the best. You should really do this.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
You imagine, like, yeah, I mean, I don't know, just the possibilities are endless.
hmm
And all of a sudden, oh, you have your grandfather talking. You need to support this candidate right here. Like
yeah,
all of a
exactly.
sudden it starts. You need to check out. Like all of a sudden it starts throwing ads out. And it's like, what in the hell was he talking about?
Yeah,
This new toaster over here. I don't know. I looked it up on Google. This on Amazon about toasters, but I mean, all of a sudden, Grandpa's telling me about toasters that I should buy. I'm like, what in the hell?
it's got
Like,
it's got a million one-star reviews, but Grandpa says it. And
yeah, Grandpa says it's good. Yeah, I mean, because the precedent's already there. You already see people deal with the Chat GPT
yeah,
and all that. They're already using the AI for that kind of you know whatever. I mean, people are leaving the loved one, leaving marriages and stuff um, over the AI. They're you know. So, what's the next step? Having some you know hologram or whatever.
yeah.
Eventually it could be that.
And
Have a
spirits can
hologram in your living room. All of a sudden, a grandpa sitting there talking to you, having a conversation, and then telling you what you need to do and
yeah,
what you need to see.
yeah, yeah. So, oh well. There's my what first ever non paranormal contribution to the show.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. It bleeds over sometimes. Sometimes it's going to bleed over, because I mean everything's kind of intertwined and interconnected a little bit to the point, and especially as technology and stuff grows and um, the possibilities there, are endless.
Yeah.
But speaking of technology, I know I'm not going to get no spirit box or no go to the cemetery like I was asked. I'm not doing that. After having the GoPro die at the cemetery and just eat the battery, I don't even halfway don't even want to go back over there. But I know I'm gonna have to for sure, in times. But uh,
Yeah.
I'm trying to drag a little bit. I don't know if Mike's having trouble or not because he has not started. We will be sending everybody to Trouble Minds in a second. But I know he's He sent the Substack out, so we know he's having a show, but it's not showing anything. It's interesting. Yeah, I'm from the South. The Southern Ghost love me. Yeah, I'm sure they did. They probably wanted me to, you know, just talk to me, whatever. And I just didn't have enough energy there for they can talk to me. Oh, here we go. You know, who knows? Who
Yeah.
knows? Well, looking for LC Rumble. So I know it won't be long now. James, you want to do your spiel? Or whatever. How? I forget what is the
No, the,
Echo Fish say? You know, he's always trying to drop whatever through the show. But yeah, tell them who you are, and for the ones that don't know, we got.
yeah. Well, my name is James Salsido. I do a podcast called Salsido Paranormal, and you can check that out. All the links to all the shows, ways to support, ways to listen, social media, all that at the website, which is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. And yeah, you can find all my shows there, and also ways to listen to live recordings over on Discord. So thank you for having me as always, Ricky.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, all right, here we go. Yeah, for sure, James. I appreciate you being here, and I'm gonna, like I said, the ones that are on Rumble, I'm gonna send you over there to Troubled Minds. Um, I'll drop the chat. Let's see. I don't have a. I don't have a. I have a switch here today to drop links, but over to YouTube. But here's the link for the YouTube chat. But I appreciate y'all being here for sure. As always, we got make sure you like and subscribe. We got some amazing guests coming soon. Got some more down the line. Got some more great content. Lots of shorts coming out. I'm doing better on that. It's so check out the links in the description. All of our friends. Check out the Trouble Minds Radio Network. Syndicated on there. Me and James and Matt Sal and a few others. We're all on there. So check us all out. And as always, I appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all being here. And we'll just hit this. I need to redo that. I don't know. I just like this song, but everybody likes the song. We need to do the outro, and we'll get out of here.
Shackles, don't want no shackles on me. Don't want no shackles, don't want no shackles on me. I sat down with Big Brother, don't like those RFIDs. Got the blues about my freedom. Got the blues about tyranny. I got the blues about my freedom. Got the blues about tyranny. I sat down with Big Brother and the national ID. Don't want a chip in my wallet, chip in my car, And if I wanna travel, it's nobody's business how far. Don't want no shackles. Don't want no shackles on me. I said shame on Big Brother, always tracking and tracing me. Don't want a chip in my mother, chip in my wife, a chip in my babies. Stay out of our life. Don't want no shackles. Don't want no shackles on me. I say down with Big Brother, no more slavery. Play it for me, baby. Now, do you want a chip in your forehead, a chip in your arm, always tweaking your brain and causing you harm? Don't want no shackles. Don't want no shackles on me. I sit down with Big Brother in the good old USA. I sat down with Big Brother, down with Big Brother, down with Big Brother, down with Big Brother, down with Big Brother. Don't want a spy chip in me. Everybody, I sat down with Big Brother, down with Big Brother, down with Big Brother, down with Big Brother, down with Big Brother. It's all about liberty.